I think a hot shower better. Jack!
All right, one more.
Don't go in, Jack. Don't go in, Jack. Oh my gosh.
Hello and welcome back to this channel. My name is Solomon Berezin. I'm a health coach here in Houston, Texas. And in this video, we're going to be talking about cold thermogenesis and plunging into the cold water. Now, for most of this winter in 2020, I decided to jump into my neighbor's cold pool. Now, I live in Houston, Texas, so probably didn't get as cold as I'd hoped. And in videos that I've watched or you may have seen with different people who have retreats such as Wim Hof diving into cold waters. However, at the time of this filming, we had experienced below freezing temperatures, and even at one point here in Houston, Texas, it was colder than Alaska. That's pretty crazy. But anyways, in this video, I'm going to be sharing 5 reasons why I love to jump into the water, the cold water, as one of the first things to do in the morning, why I encouraged and had influenced my father to do that with me in the morning, and hopefully a reconsideration for you, because I'm sure you've probably heard it a bunch these days and seen different articles or videos of people jumping into the cold, and perhaps this is just one more seed that may encourage you to embrace that little bit of fear and go into that water. Now, probably the first and number one reason I enjoy jumping in the water is because you face a little fear first thing in the morning. Now, when we wake up and we have a little bit of a routine, we're comfortable, we want to check our phone and do everything that reminds us who we are and the things that we have to do in the day. But by jumping into that cold, there's that little bit of fear of plunging into something that's going to make us feel a little uncomfortable at first. So by practicing just a easy, or not easy, but a simple thing like jumping into the cold water or taking a cold shower, it allows us to expand that comfort zone a little bit by getting out of our own comfort zone and into something a little bit more uncomfortable. And when it really comes to breaking a habit or really wanting to make some changes in one's own life, it takes that plunge, not just putting your toe into the water, but to really dive in and experience it. Now, one of the first ways I'll recommend how it actually benefits our physical health, and thus our mental health and spiritual health, is that it activates our sympathetic nervous system. Now, the sympathetic nervous system is the fight, flight, or freeze response, the rush of energy, that kind of a survival state. But with jumping in the cold and that little bit of rush sent to the brain and the shock, when we practice our breath and we slow down our heart rate, it actually, over time and continuous repetition, builds our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our ability to rest and digest. And it has a lot of a great anti-inflammatory response in the body overall and in the brain. And a major problem these days is neuroinflammation, which is inflammation in the brain. And it does this by activating our vagus nerve. Now, the vagus nerve, as I talked to Dr. Nawaz Habib in my podcast, I'll put a link to it, is one of the 10 of brain stems that originates from the brain stem. It's a nerve that goes throughout the whole body, relaying and returning and relaying information from the brain to the body and the body to the brain. And its pretty much main job is processing and taking care of most of our autonomic or automatic functions throughout the body, from your heart rate to your breathing and so many more. This third reason I find very fascinating, because you may have heard with meditation, you practice slowing down your brain waves. And the brain waves, we have a beta brain wave, which is pretty much our day-to-day brain wave where we're thinking and are analyzing things that's going on. And that has different ranges from medium to high, depending on how analytical you are. And the more you're able to slow down your brain waves, you get into more of an alpha state, which is where you're creative. Then you have theta, delta, and gamma, which, then you get into like your sleep and further down. But I'm not going to dive too much into brain waves in this video. However, with a cold, it actually, with all the signals that the cold is sending by touching all the different parts of the body and getting into the brain and the head, it actually slows down your brain waves by suppressing the neocortex, that thinking part of the brain, because it's such a rush of cold that's getting and signals getting sent to the brain. You can't be thinking so much about different things because it puts you into the present moment. So I find it really cool that it actually slows down your brain waves as you practice, slowing down your breath and getting into that moment and adjusting and improve your immune system, that the brain waves kind of start to slow down and you begin to think clearly. Now the fourth reason, and in doing some research I found pretty cool, is that it helps you feel good. It puts you in a good mood and it releases good feeling endorphins like norepinephrine. And even when I was doing some research, I found an article that said, additionally, due to the high density of cold receptors in the skin, a cold shower is expected to send an overwhelming amount of electrical impulses from peripheral nerve endings to the brain, and because of this it could result into an antidepressive effect. And so that's really cool. And if you jump into the cold water or you take a cold shower, you'll experience a little bit of that yourself, and when it's over, not only will it be a nice sense of relief because you're out of that discomfort, but you'll find that you have like a burst of energy. The fifth and final reason that you should consider jumping into some cold water or taking a cold shower is more of the physical effect that it has. By jumping into the cold water, it really helps with your blood circulation and how your muscles feel. And although there's still some research confirming it, it does this because, like, as an athlete, you may have jumped into some ice cold baths after working out, but the cold water constricts the blood vessels, which reduces the blood flow to a specific area, and therefore reduces the swelling and inflammation going to that area. So it really helps with that. When it comes to burning fat, what I found really cool reading this book, Boundless, by Ben Greenfield, is that we have these two kinds of fat. This white fat, which is commonly known as like your bad fat, or like, the fat you don't want, and your brown adipose tissue, or brown fat. And so the cold exposure actually stimulates the brown fat to burn the white fat, kind of like when you're fasting. So the cold increases the metabolically active brown adipose tissue, which enhances the capacity to burn fat. And so on a physical level, it's really cool how just by jumping into some cold in a fasted state, doing some movement out in the sunlight, and then jumping into the cold water or into the shower, it can really get that metabolism going. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope by watching this and learning a couple of these few reasons in which really helped me get into and continue jumping into the cold water, encourage you to either research it some more and just go in and try it for a week or 30 days and really kind of measure how you feel after doing it. There's so much we can do about learning and continuing research and waiting for more research to come to prove something's validity, but ultimately, you can't just read how to do a push-up. You got to get down and do a push-up. So with that being said, it's been helping myself and my father a lot. I've been helping him out with his health in general, and I've noticed his whole energy and perspective, and in myself, change a lot by first thing in the morning. Rather than attending to the demands and checking our phones, we get into the water and it wakes us up, and now we have a great energy. Our blood flow has gone to the brain and we're able to make smart, effective, and productive decisions. Thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day and see you in the next video. Now, just to be on the safe side, given the conditions of jumping into cold water, depending on the temperature that it is, we want to be safe and smart when we go into this. So don't just, willingly go jump in. Do some breathing exercises before you get in, just slowly calming your breath, doing some diaphragmatic breathing. And then when you get into the water, especially the first few times, it's going to be a little bit of a shock. And so that's when the breathing really matters, to slow down your breathing, slow down your heart rate, and that's where the real benefits come from, because we don't, God forbid, want to hyperventilate or breathe super rapidly. So just a couple reminders, when you're doing some research, with watching this video and afterwards, be smart, intentional, and take some precautionary measures, whether that's bringing somebody with you or anything else that'll help you be safe in practicing jumping in the cold water.